To really and truly understand narcissistic personality, I believe there is one term that can be incredibly helpful, and that term is counterintuitive. Now, let me sort of explain what I mean. Take how a narcissistic person acts on the surface. Imagine them walking into a room and talking and some of the things they believe, some of the things they say, right? I want you to think about what kind of an ego they have. Is this someone who has a big self esteem and seems to act as if they feel incredibly important and very sure of themselves? Okay, now to truly understand that narcissistic person, it is completely counterintuitive that actually how they really feel underneath is very, very different. That actually, a lot of times, a narcissist deep down will feel insecure, will be afraid that you may leave them, may feel fraudulent, that others might find out that they are not as amazing as they try to present. So, to understand the narcissist is really to understand that a lot of the things they say, a lot of the things they do are all meant in a way to act like a salesperson, to sell to you this image of themselves as a certain thing. And that is someone who doesn't have weaknesses, someone who doesn't have insecurities, someone who doesn't have flaws, someone who is incredibly confident, maybe who is always right or almost always right, someone who is just incredibly smart and just capable and kind of just naturally, inherently, really a special and gifted person in so many ways. So the narcissist really spends a lot of time and mental energy to keep this image up with the world. Now, keep in mind, I believe the narcissist also works as a salesperson with themselves, trying very, very hard to always remind themselves that that's who they are too. Because deep down, a narcissist has insecurities just like anyone else, right? Insecurity is simply an occasional part of being a human being. Here's what happened though with a narcissist. Very early on, their personality structure got formed in a way where they became very rigid and set, and they stopped opening themselves up to certain emotional experiences. Most people will let themselves feel occasionally sad and feel hurt, maybe rejected. Those are very basic human feelings, however, that someone who is really narcissistic can't allow themselves to feel. They can't let that feeling in at all. The idea is, and this is how the narcissist thinks, if I were to let some of those feelings in, the whole house of cards may collapse. There is this underlying fear and anxiety with a narcissist that if they were to acknowledge some feelings of insecurity or weakness, that those feelings might snowball and accumulate and they may become overwhelmed by them. See, the narcissist has learned to operate in their life in a way to tell themselves that they are best guarded. They are best in some ways on their own, not truly depending emotionally on anyone. Now, a narcissist may have individuals in their life. They may have a husband, a wife, close family members, close friends. However, someone who is really narcissistic doesn't truly let anyone completely in because the narcissist a long time ago made a kind of secret deal with themselves. Never let your guard completely down. If they were to let their guard down and show someone, expose themselves for who they are, for being human, for being sad sometimes, for not knowing sometimes, for not understanding sometimes what to do or how to be, right? Those are all normal human experiences. The narcissist doesn't want to feel those feelings. In fact, if you were to say to a narcissist, well, what are some of the things that are maybe some of your character defects, some of the things that you need to work on? A narcissist will often believe, whether they will tell you or not, Well, I don't really believe that I have any flaws. Now, someone hearing a narcissist respond that way may be inclined to say to the narcissist, but what do you mean? Aren't you a human being? And don't all human beings have flaws? Right there, you are using logic with a narcissist. Now, that logic would for a moment confuse the narcissist in that moment because they think, huh, I guess you're right. I have read that. I have heard that human beings do have flaws, that everyone has flaws. And yet, with that logic, the narcissist doesn't really know what to do with it. The narcissist has heard that. The narcissist has read, right, that everyone has weaknesses, that everyone has flaws. So they, in that moment, if you were to say to them, but hold on, aren't you human? Don't all humans have flaws and weaknesses and some insecurities? The narcissist would feel that you are trying to catch them, that somehow you might use this later as leverage against them. They might think on a really primitive feeling level, what are you trying to catch me at here? What are you trying to say to me? That I have flaws just like everyone else? The narcissist has told themselves and survived for a very long time telling themselves that they are different from almost everybody else, that in some ways they are more special than everyone else. So that is really part and parcel of the narcissist's experience. Now, is it possible that in the best of all possible worlds, would the narcissist actually like to be categorized as something different than human, just a regular human being? Absolutely. Someone who is seriously narcissistic would actually like to believe that they are not human, they are superhuman, that they are a special sort of anointed group of people. They couldn't tell you what made them so special. They may say they were just kind of born that way. They certainly will not tell you that it was experiences early in their life that caused them to be this distorted way. A narcissist would never tell you, actually, you're right. My thinking, my expectations are really distorted. No, they couldn't do that. They don't have flaws, again, to begin with. So, counterintuitive is really one of the best terms that will really help you understand someone who is narcissistic. Understanding that the cover of the book jacket, actually is very different than what's inside the book. That although the narcissist puffs up and says how amazing they think they are, doesn't show vulnerability, doesn't show insecurity, that deep down, actually, there is a pocket of insecurity, of fear and anxiety that they simply can't bring themselves to admit. On the podcast, Insight with Dr. Seth, we talk about all different types of mental health issues and personality issues, relationship issues, and narcissism is something that we talk about in some of the episodes. So check out the Insight with Dr. Seth podcast.